People in Korea talking about, oh my God, there's a huge drug problem. And I'm like, no, 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 no. And welcome to City English. I'm Cherry. City, C.I.T.Y, stands for Can I Teach You? Can I Teach You has two meanings. One meaning is permission. May I teach you? Is it okay with you? The other meaning is ability. Can I teach you? Do I have the skills? Welcome to City English. Hello. I have never done drugs. I can't tell you about doing drugs, but I know a lot about drugs. Why? Because they're interesting, so I studied them. I don't know. But anyway, I want to talk about drugs because right now in Korea, there is a war on drugs, and it is confusing my soul. The reason it's confusing to me is because in the years that I've been here, I have never had a real conversation with Korean students about drugs because it's not something that happens every day. And in the past month or two, I've had a number of students talk to me about drugs, but the things they say and understand and know, I don't understand. So I've had students talk to me about fentanyl, but they seem to think that fentanyl is an over-the-counter drug. No, it's not. Or the fear that comes when they talk about marijuana and like that it is going to destroy society, and I'm just like, okay. So I want to talk about drugs. Right now, if I were to ask the average person, they would say that there is a drug problem in Korea. And I, as an American, don't understand how there's a drug problem in Korea when drugs in Korea are so unaffordable. Like, the average person cannot afford to do drugs in this country because it's so strict, and the laws and the import and the fear. So a lot of people have been referencing the drug scandal that happened with the kids who were given the drinks. So somewhere, I think it was Daechirong, some kids were given a drink that had I imagine it was meth in it, because meth is let me teach you about drugs. Okay. Meth is manufacturable, meaning that you can make meth if you have the right ingredients, which is why in America things like Sudafed are behind the counter. Cocaine, heroin, marijuana, all of those, they need to be imported in their pure form, so they get stopped at the airport. So meth is a whole different beast of drugs. So these kids in Daechirong were given a drink laced with meth, and then their parents were blackmailed and said, give us money, enroll your child in our hagwon, or else we're going to tell people. Now, when I talk to students, they say this is indicative of a drug problem, and I say no, it's not. This is indicative of a societal taboo. This is indicative of a societal stigma. This is indicative of blackmail. This is assault. This is not a drug problem. A drug problem is when someone is doing drugs for personal pleasure and it takes over their life and they are unable to function. These children were tricked into doing drugs, and as a result, because there is a stigma in Korea around doing drugs, their reputation was at risk. That's a blackmail problem, a reputation problem, not a drug problem. Now, if these children went in search of this meth, then that becomes a drug problem. But at the same time, they can't go in search of this meth because it was done secretively. There is no drug dealer who secretly gives you drugs because they cannot make a profit later. I am a drug dealer. No, sorry, I'm not a drug dealer. If I were a drug dealer and I want you to buy my drugs, then I need you to know who I am and where to find me. And you cannot find me if I give you the drugs secretly. Now, if this was a situation where the kids became addicted and they went to the Hagwon because the Hagwon kept giving them drugs, now then that's a drug problem. But that doesn't seem to be what the plan was. So when students say to me, "Oh, this is a sign that there's a drug problem," no, it's not. These are different problems. These are totally different problems. Then there was another report recently where the government said that they are going to increase the number of CCTVs. Again, Korea does not have an open air drug market. What is an open air drug market? An open air drug market is where you can drive up or walk up to someone who stands on a corner because you know they are a drug dealer. You give them money and they give you drugs. That is an open air drug market. That is where CCTV is useful. Korea does not have that problem. Drugs in Korea are, one, unbelievably expensive. Two, Korea does not have a cash economy. Korea has a card and transfer economy. Therefore, you need to be looking at Telegram, which is an app. You need to be looking at the dark web. You need to be looking at the internet. No one is walking up to strangers. What corner? What stranger? How? So, I'm reading this article about, we're fixing 1,500 CCTVs in order to manage the drug problem in Korea. And I'm like, that works in America. That is not Korea's drug problem. So all of these things that are being done for the war on drugs in Korea don't match Korea's drug problem. They're not the same. Now, there is a drug issue in Korea, but it is prescription drugs. Prescription ADHD drugs that are being used so that people can study all night. Prescription Xanax because people have anxiety and cannot function and cannot sleep. Prescription diet pills that are being abused. There is a drug problem, but it is a prescription problem. There is no black market, or not black market, but there is no on the street heroin dealer. There is no on the street cocaine dealer. You want cocaine, you need to go to a club and you need to have money. You need to have a lot of cocaine money and you need to know where the club is. You need to know who the promoter is. There is no on the street marijuana problem. You need to know who the dealer is. So yes, if there is a drug problem, and there very well might be, but looking at it from an American perspective and then listening to people in Korea talking about, oh my God, there's a huge drug problem. And I'm like, no. And maybe I'm being cynical, maybe I'm being negative, but I am coming from a social work background where I used to work with teenage drug dealers. I used to go to houses that were drug dens. I used to be around drugs all the time. I didn't do drugs. I promise you, never didn't do drugs. But I am familiar. I have worked with enough functioning drug addicts, functioning crackheads, functioning alcoholics, functioning heroin addicts, everyday potheads, to know that these are two different issues. Now, functioning alcoholics, we can do a whole video on functioning alcoholics. Anyway, that's my opinion on the current drug situation in Korea. Bye!